I actually would like to start with something a little bit different. We talked about some visualizations today, so I would like to start us off with a short visualization, if you don't mind. I'd love for you to close your eyes if you feel like you're up for doing that. And take a deep breath in, and then let it go. I'd love for you to go back before the title, before you had your company or startup, whatever you're working on, before you knew how any of this was going to turn out. Find a moment. It might take a second to arrive, but let it come. A moment when you first knew that you were capable of something bigger than you were standing. Maybe it was a room where nobody saw it but you. Maybe it was a failure that cracked something open and showed you what was underneath. Find that moment. Feel the ground under your feet in that moment. And now notice what you knew about yourself in that moment. Before anyone talked you out of it, before the doubt came back, before you maybe learned to make yourself smaller in certain rooms. Now open your eyes. So this was just a short gist of basically who you were before maybe the world told you otherwise, and that's something I think we all need to remember more. And there's actually an area of our brain called a default mode network that stores a model of who you are and basically narrates your identity based on all of your past experience, which means that you're actually living from like a stored memory of who you are. And sometimes when we're not on the path we want to be, or maybe we're not in the right place in our business, it's actually because we're narrating from the past. So I think the question for today that I'd love to start with for all of our lovely panelists is, what did you have to believe about yourself before you had any evidence for it to be where you are today? And I know it's a tough question, so whoever feels brave enough to start.
Okay, it's on. When you were walking us through that visualization, I was trying to think of a moment, and then two things come to mind. First of all, I was very lucky to grow up in a lot of rooms that looked like this. I went to all-girls school from 5th grade through 12th grade, and then I was on a women's rowing team in college, so I was surrounded by powerful, strong women all the time, which I think is very unique. So I would look up at the leadership and think, oh, that's me. They're telling me I can do it, thus I can do it. The first moment was probably my freshman year of high school. I thought I was gonna be a rower. I'm 5'3.5". Rowers are usually 6 feet plus. And my coach was like, oh, she likes to talk. So my coach was like, you're gonna go and sit in the coxswain seat, so you have to steer the boat. There's a stick there that you steer with. And I didn't know which direction was right and which direction was left. And I was like, but I don't know how to steer a boat. And she said, fake it till you make it. They don't know. They don't know that you don't know that. And just put me in the boat. And I think that was probably the first moment. And what I had to believe in that moment was just that I was safe, I think, to mess up and make mistakes. And it's really like, what is the worst that can happen? You have nothing to lose, right? I was a freshman in high school. These girls didn't really know me. And I think when you just forget about the stakes, you're just like, what is the worst that can happen? You might as well try. You might as well ask to be on a yacht in Monaco, and maybe you'll get there, right? Thank you.
I like this question very much. And the one thing that I want to address, it's not the word, the belief about yourself. Because you're probably going to look at yourself and thinking, what I'm believing it. And you probably will try to find some specific thought that actually can be referred as a belief. But it's not that way. There's not something like some statement that you have in your brain. It's something different. It's some kind of, a cloud of the feeling. So, and I truly think that what motivates you to start building things consists of two parts. The first part is trusting the flow. Trust the universe. Trust the life that's going around you. I have no idea how I ended up in neuroscience. I just knew that I want to go and study brain. I'll tell you, I'm a mathematician by background. I worked in tech my whole life. And one day I ended up being absolutely broke, living in South Bend, Indiana, not being able to even buy food. And I was like, okay, I want to take classes in neuroscience. I would like to study brain. Why? I don't know. And then when I ended up being at Harvard and getting my master's degree, I was like, oh, there's an interesting class, sex difference and mental health. There's nothing that connected me to the space. It even sounded weird to me at the moment. I was like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna take it. And this class changed the whole flow of my life because I ended up being at the Harvard Medical School at the lab. That's how I started my research, and it led to the company. And that was the flow of very random decisions, just like out of the fun. And now I can see like, oh, that's how they all building up together to the moment where we are. But there is a second part, which is we usually do not respect. It's frustration. It's anger. It's something that really should make you mad to some extent. And I guess this is the best fuel to building the companies and getting to the point where you are. Because I was frustrated eventually when I ended up at this Harvard Medical School and the Witten College lab. I was like, guys, you are studying brain based on the 20, 30 people? You gotta be kidding me. You are analyzing depression based on questions and asking people, are you depressed? Are you serious? It shouldn't work this way. And this may make it being mad, and honestly, I'm angry every single day now. Yeah, well, like you facing the FDA, you facing reimbursement programs, you facing clinics and hospitals, you're meeting a lot of people that are telling you some weird things. And this is the fuel which I think we need to respect and like be, I don't know, aligned with it because it helps you to build and grow.
Thank you so much. Kaila.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kaila. My belief also came around the same formative years around high school, but to tell you why the belief was so strong, I'm gonna sort of bring you into my mind state in high school. So I'm born and bred New Jersey. I'm second daughter, and my mom walked out on our family when I was 5. I grew up on the Indian reservation in New Mexico. She dropped us off in New Jersey and basically shuffled us into my Korean dad's house and was like, this is your life. No one had communicated if my mom was coming back, but I just had to like adjust to this lifestyle. And my dad was physically violent and emotionally abusive. It was a terrible household. Every single day I'd come home from school and I had sort of like weather the storm. So from ages 5 onwards, your parent sort of creates like your first atmosphere. And I just loved school because I was outside of the house. Like schools where I had friends, I had playground, I had imagination. But I always went home and I went to bed every night just like crying and praying and hoping for something. And in high school, I went to Englewood in New Jersey. And on some random days in high school, the teachers would do parent-teacher conferences, so they would close school Wednesday. But I never wanted to stay home because after '08, when the recession happened, my father lost his job, so he was home. So I would still pretend to go to school at like 7:30 and put on a backpack, and I would take the bus here to Port Authority and just hang out in Manhattan for the day. And one of the things I did was freshman, sophomore, junior year, I would take the bus and sit at Joe's Coffee, which has like massive windows. And in Midtown, I would watch these women walk from whether Port Authority, Penn Station, or Grand Central in their suit, similar outfits that some of you ladies have today, and their tennis shoes, and they'd hold a coffee in one hand and a BlackBerry in another. And I'd watch them enter other skyscraper lobbies. They'd come in, they'd take their seat, they'd pull out of their bag cute heels, change from tennis shoes to heels, stand up, grab their coffee, grab their BlackBerry, and then clack away through the turnstile. And then she'd go up in an elevator. And visually, I saw this woman like walk with purpose. But in my mind, I imagined, okay, this is a woman who probably goes in the elevator, goes up to the highest floor. And I thought that she would be someone who's at the front of a boardroom speaking to a round table of other people giving a presentation, glass setting. That's like what my mind just painted for me right away. So in high school, I just had that thought and I knew like that was gonna be me. So any moment that was like really tough for me in my home, I hung on to this sort of GIF file that would render in my mind and play again of like, you're gonna be a woman who's gonna be at the front of the room, public speaking to a round table of people, faceless in my image. And I went through college at Rutgers. I was a competitive public speaker. I studied economics. I was supposed to go into banking. And at the time, my friend was like, everyone's leaving the bank to work at a tech startup in 2015. And I was like, what's a tech startup? And I just Googled like public speaking at a tech startup location in New York. And I got hired at a place called Sprinkler, social media management startup at the time, Series B or C, I believe. And I became the person who onboarded new employees at the front of the room speaking to a group full of people on 35th Street.
Wow, what a full circle moment. That's beautiful. So actually, while we're on you, I want to ask you, you're now at Antler, looking at founders very, very early stage.
Yes.
First of all, that experience must have informed how you now look at others in terms of belief and how they believe about their mission. So what is the difference, do you think, between a founder that believes and that one that performs belief?
Yeah, that's a great question. For those who don't know, Antler is a pre-seed fund. We're global. First check in. We're coming very early. It's truly a bet on the founder. So conviction is important when the partners assess. And I give the partners at the fund a lot of credit to have these like reads on people. Sometimes they back founders and I meet them and I'm like, I don't know what you guys saw. And then 6 months later, you see the traction. And I was like, wow, how do you develop that kind of forward sight? When I meet someone, founder or not, but definitely an investable opportunity, you can tell when someone has emotional connectivity. And that's what I think stems from their belief about the future or the market or their customer. So I'm always seeking that in a founder for me to gain a lot of conviction in them. And how you can tell with women, it's for sure the intuition, whether that muscle is developed by you or it's small and you're developing it. I rely a lot on my intuition. So do a lot of our male partners as well. You can see in the eyes, like, I don't know if anyone here has been in relationships where you just know, friendships or relationships where you know they're not telling the truth. You can just tell, you can read it. Same with founders. You can hear a founder say a slogan and you're like, that sounds like the first time you've ever said that. And I'm like, these are all data points. They're all data points. But the one thing that's unscalable with determining belief in a person is you have to invest time with them. You have to go to dinner. You have to take coffee. You have to do long walks. A 30-minute investor meeting at the pre-seed fund, I think if you're a founder, you just want to like get more time with investors, get more exposure, get them to experience more of you, because that is like what the bet's on. So I rely a lot on emotional connectivity.
Awesome, thank you. Aparajita, you mentioned very briefly your story. You rode with an all-female team at Yale, badass women, and you actually studied or did a thesis on guided visualizations for athlete performance. So you really studied but lived this reality of rehearsing mentally before you kind of, want to achieve a big goal. So I wanted to learn what being in that boat taught you about collective belief.
It's a big question. I will start off by saying I would run my rowers through a very similar visualization in the 2 weeks leading up to any major race. Whether they wanted to or not, they were forced to sit in a room. We'd turn the lights off, and I would walk them through the entire race, because as a coxswain, there's microphones throughout the boat, and so I'm the voice they're hearing throughout the race. And I think you have to visualize both the positive and the negative so that you're prepared for whatever happens. Michael Phelps' coach before an Olympic race in a world championship crushed his goggles so that they would be leaking when he was racing, and didn't tell Michael Phelps, obviously. He went through the race, he still won. And then in the Olympics, I think it was the Olympics or some other big race, his goggles leaked by accident and he was totally ready. He was like, I've done this before. I think there's a lot of large scale athletes who do very similar visualizations. Some people prefer to do just positive. Some people do positive and negative. I think there's this saying in rowing, if you like each other, you go faster. You work harder for each other. And I think you can feel it when you feel a founder who is like eating, breathing, sleeping their company, or you meet someone who's just a killer, you can feel that energy. And when a boat picks up momentum, you can really feel it. And you know that there's really not a lot you can do to stop it. I think to create collective belief, you need to have one fundamental goal that you're all driving towards. And there's 8, 9 different people in a boat. As long as everyone has fundamental respect for each other and the goal they're trying to achieve, you can really kind of rally the troops. The same goes for a founder for an early stage company. I love talking to founders, and when I meet someone where I'm like, I would go work for them, I think that is the switch where you get really excited about someone.
There's a row term called like swing, right? Like when everyone hits the same breath, same heartbeat, I think that's so cool.
It's actually interesting because we had a brief chat before this, and you mentioned like you don't even really fully relate to like traditional imposter syndrome because you were surrounded by so many incredible, strong women. It wasn't even a reality that you were exposed to. You were like, this is just what it is. I'd love for you to speak to that a bit.
Well, first of all, I went to college and I was like, there are boys here in my classes, and they're so loud. Because we would walk into a room in middle school, high school, you would ask all the questions that you had. And then I was at a tech company. It spun out of an MIT lab, and it was very male heavy. And that was kind of the first time where I had this reality check of what it means to be a woman in the real world. I think growing up, being surrounded by women who their bodies are all different shapes and sizes, but they're all very, very strong. I think you see that and you just know that you can do something. And for context, I'm like the small one who's trying to rally the troops, and the tall women are ideally following me. I really think the fake it till you make it that my coach told me freshman year, I think about that, and then I also think about what would a man do, and why do they believe that they're deserving to be in a room? And if they can believe that, then I can believe that too.
Yes, let's have a round of applause for that. Mariam, you chose to work on a very difficult problem, fighting female depression and understanding where it comes from. And I wanted to understand, how do you keep going on the days when the science is slow and rejection is loud?
Well, unfortunately, imposter syndrome is my second middle name. So I'm that person who's like every day, why am I doing this? Like, am I the person who can do this? And to be honest with you guys, I do have an amazing support system that I built for the time. It's my co-founder, it's my first investors. I have people I can call and say, okay, guys, I'm really feeling low. I feel like a litter who has no idea where they're flying right now. And it's okay to feel this way. Trust me. So don't try to feel in yourself all this like forever power. It's non-existent. But you may feel this imposter syndrome, but you need just to have a people who will tell, like, Mariam, we one who chose you as well. We're the one who know that you have everything to build with. You are the one who has that background, that stamina, that's personality that can help you win, and we are supporting you. And having those people next to you, this is something that you actually can do. You can willingly choose these people to be next to you. And I see very often how people are rejecting this kind of support. Don't. Really accept them. Keep them next to them. Important moment though, those people should actually like really achieve something, so you will really trust their judgment. But there are going to be a lot of people from science, from like financial institutions, from the field, your potential customers who really know the problem as well as you do, and they share your vision. So this is the one you can rely on.
Thank you so much. And since we are talking about beliefs, I would love to have each one of you say what's one belief that you'd love for every woman in this room to walk out with today that you wish someone had given you when you needed it.
And it's a tough one, yeah. Like recently, my scientific advisor said me one thing: never work on a problem that somebody else can solve. And I really stuck for a minute. I was like, wow, this is so narcissist to say that. Like, there's nobody else who can solve this problem. But in the end, if you're looking back and you look at your experience, I can share my story. I'm a patient myself. I had severe depression. I had suicidal attempts. I had it in my family. I'm the one who had mathematical background. I worked in tech and I developed so many apps. I randomly ended up in neuroscience, learning about default mode network and then like women mental health. That's triggered me to the idea that there should be precision biomarkers, etc., having nothing knowing about the field. And I'm like, am I really not the only one who has all the necessary points and now all the connections and people who actually can solve this problem? And I'm like, yeah, well, that makes sense. It's not too egocentric to think it this way, but yes, work on the problem that you really know that you are the only person who can solve.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think mine would be one that I've practiced in the last few years, which is and I'm still working on it, but it's my strongest held belief. There's 11. I have a blog that 11 hills I will die on. My first one is your inner world will determine your outer world. And I know we're talking about manifestation and visualization and like affirmations and how like you feel about yourself is how others will feel about you. But there was this one line that Tony Robbins said. I know he's a little polarizing, but I had caught it on social, and I found it at a time when I was actually very depressed and unemployed and heartbroken, and I was living in Seoul at the time. And he said, your life actually is not everything that's going on. Like on your way here, you probably didn't notice half the stands outside trying to recruit people to sign up to give money, and the guy selling hot dogs and the people crossing the street. Your life is actually only what you focus on, and you can make a conscious effort on what you want to focus on, and then over time that will become your life. And I've had to train myself, because my narrative for a very long time was like, you're doomed. Like, just think about your home base, right? Like, you go home every day to someone who infuses such negativity into your brain. I had very dark thoughts growing up. When college admissions came out in March my senior year, I got rejected from Dartmouth. Did you go to Dartmouth? You went to Yale. Okay. I was like, I got rejected from Dartmouth, and it was my first heartbreak. And my best friend in high school at the time, we had very similar like trajectories. We were both president of clubs, very high honor roll grades. She got acceptance to 3 of her choices. And I was like, of course she got accepted. I've been to her house. Her mom and dad, while they don't speak English, they love her. They make 4:30 like snacks for her after school. Her mom would drop anything to make her succeed. Like, I am lucky if I can go home to try to complete a poster for my science class by running to my local dollar store to put together materials for it and hope my dad doesn't rage out and rip it apart. Like, you think we're starting at the same like foundation here, Kaila? Like, you can't go for these higher goals. You have to settle for this track. And when you run that dialogue, you start like settling in life for a certain tier of experiences and people and community. And just one day I flipped the script. I remember waiting for the bus in New Jersey, and I took out my like iPhone 6 at the time, and I just wrote in my Apple Notes, I am no one's victim. Because I think try to cope with my childhood, the thing of like childhood abuse and being victim, I couldn't stand that word. And I just had to change, like, everything in life happened because it needed to happen. Although I prayed to be put in any other home than mine, like, God put me in that home for a purpose. I'm still working it out. But once I cleaned up my inner world and I thought, like, everything in life happens for me, I am who I am because of who I need to be. And like even being on this panel and like you creating this product that is so special, and for us to get connected through Dasha, like, what are the odds of these small things happening? And once I ran a very common affirmation, like, everything in life happens for me and is turning out better than I expected, that inner world dialogue reflected so much in my outer world. And especially in cities like New York, you have no idea what compounding effects are in this city. By like spreading that good energy and that introduction, it always does come back. But I used to run a complete opposite track in my formative years.
Thank you, honestly, for all this vulnerability on this panel. I mean, that's truly incredible. I actually feel like it wouldn't be me if I didn't try and meet our future self today. So just final question. I would love to ask you what we would be celebrating with you a year from today. And I want to speak you to existence right now. So who wants to go first? Mariam? What are we celebrating with you a year from today?
Oh, I hope we're going to celebrate so many things. First of all, I would like to bring some more science and data to brain. And I really, really would like to achieve the goals that I'm building with my company. Because there is 3 billion people going to suffer from brain disorders, guys. It's an incredible number. And like, a lot of people approach me every day and say, like, my mom's has Parkinson, my dad has Alzheimer's, like, or somebody suffering from mental disorders, and nobody can diagnose them, nobody can treat them. And I was like, guys, we're working on that, okay? We're going to find all the like right people just to finally collect the data, finally to do the proper AI, really understand the population. I would like to celebrate that. And second thing I would like to celebrate, I'm really about the woman empowerment. And I really see that this women club finally building, we're supporting each other, we're here for each other. And this is something that I would like to celebrate, not like further, but every time starting from today, because I really think this is the place where I can finally help each other to build something global with all of the empathy and love that we have. And yeah, let's celebrate this even starting today.
Yes. I think in a similar vein, I would like to celebrate pushing more women forward and having more women around me, whether that is investing in more female-founded companies, working with more women on my investment team. I think we need more women in the world, and I think we have a lot to say, and I think we're very logical sometimes, and I also think that our intuition is very important. In very small details, whether it's an investment decision or it's just a piece of diligence that you're doing. I think we all need to be in more places, so I would love to support women in investing, working, founding a company.
Thank you. Kaila.
It's impossible to be around founders and not want to start a company. I don't know how other investors just stay investors their entire career. So a year from now, I would have loved to have started my public speaking coaching practice and have a couple clients for sure. I'm very passionate about how founders pitch, having sat in thousands of them. I'm like, it's so fixable if only you practiced. And
I'm going to start a type form after today.
I love it. So that's one for sure. Having my own business, having clients a year from now. I think being closer with my dad. We're civil, but speaking about emotional connectivity, I have it with everybody else except him. So that would be very meaningful for me. And I want to just feel an abundance of love in my my founder community in Flatiron, with my friends, with everything.
Thank you so much. And on that note, thank you so much for all of your insights. I hope you are leaving inspired. Thank you so much.